Okay, I'm just trying to see what the delay is. I'm going to do one check on the sound in just a second. Okay, I can hear the parakeet, so I know the sound is good. So we are good to go. Okay, guys. Welcome to today's Let's See the Chickens. Let's head outside. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day because I am. Yes, we do need to free Julian Assange. I absolutely agree with you, and that is a great name. That is a great name. So it is a crazy rainy, chilly day here. Supposedly we're going to get about an inch of snow tonight, so that'll be interesting. Let me peek you up so you guys can see. For those that you can see how the fog is actually rolling in a little bit, so that we can not quite see the top of that cell tower there. Yucky, but you know, I like weather, and rain is very important when it comes to a lot of things. So I'm not actually complaining too much. So let me get one more thing. I just realized that I need to get one more thing set up to make sure that we are good to go. Ah, yes, there we are. Good to go. Let me show you this, guys. You'll like this. So the ducks see me. So they are ready. They're just like, where is our food? We are ready. And if you can hear them in the distance, these are the Muscovies. So if you're not familiar with Muscovies, spectacular homesteading duck. Highly suggest getting them. Awesome at a variety of stuff. And then the ducks that you hear up quacking in the distance, they are the khaki Campbells and the Swedish. And they are more of a louder duck. So anyway, so what are we going to talk about today? So today I've based today's channel on the woo-woo and spiritual traditions and why I think all of that is very, very important in the world we live in today. So, and I'm not going to actually pinpoint any particular religion out or any particular belief saying it's better or worse than anything else. So, if you're coming here for Christian bashing or you're coming here to hear a Christian gospel. So yeah, so with the ducks, all of the ducks that you see hanging out right down there, with the ducks, I mostly use them for eggs, and then I also just have way more ducks than I should, just because, unfortunately, a mama duck did a great job of hiding her eggs, and so I ended up with 20 ducklings this year that I wasn't expecting. But yeah, the ducks, we sell them to some people that are interested in getting them for homesteading. But if you've not had a duck egg, they are absolutely spectacular. Guys, really loud. They're really spectacular. They're really good for pancakes and cakes and anything that you need something a little bit extra fluffy because they've got a lot of extra yolk in them. So, oh man, if you get the opportunity to get a duck egg, or if you're ever down here in southern West Virginia, swing on by and I'll give you some duck eggs. They are spectacular. They're definitely worth having. They're more rich than a chicken egg. Everybody's just talking crazy today. So they're definitely richer than a chicken egg. But they are, man, are they spectacular. Now, if you get a wild duck egg or a duck that has spent a lot of time in the water and eats amphibians and eats a lot of the fish and the algae and such like that, it'll have a little bit of like a fishy taste to it. But if you eat a duck egg that is from a duck that free ranges and things of that sort, it'll still have that normal chicken egg taste, but with more yolk and more richness to it. So let me get some. What you can't see here. Number one, yes, start off with Muscovy ducks homesteading. One, they can fly. Two, They eat snakes and mice, and they're awesome at foraging. 3, they're just fun. They're kind of like they'll imprint to you and they'll follow you around. Like, just so you know, even though I've got like 70 ducks, they're all like hanging out right under my feet, just ready for me to feed them. And they're non-aggressive, so they don't necessarily like being held up, but you can hold them and grab them, and it's really easy. They produce you large eggs, so even if you've got a smaller duck, they're still going to produce you large eggs. So and the fact that they can fly and they're really good at staying away from predators, that's why I suggest starting off with ducks and then adding chickens. Plus, a duck is one of those what I consider almost a perfect animal, because it can fly, it can swim, but it chooses to walk. Or if you listen to my channel long enough, you'll hear me joke around that we talk about the left wing and we talk about the right wing of government, and I tell people I'm the duck. So it's just a silly joke. Anyways, so let me get to getting these ducks some food. I'm gonna throw it outside because if you can't, let me just show you. This is what it looks like at the bottom of my feet. So as I walk, I'm just surrounded by ducks because they want food. So once I get them some food, I won't have to worry. I won't have to be tripping over so many ducks so much. So let me get that set up and good to go. So spiritual woo-woo, because we're going to swing back to that subject at least until we get derailed and start talking about other absolutely silly things. Wow, this is really loud. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so come with me. We'll watch this. This will be fun. I'll put the camera behind me, and we'll go for a walk, and you will get to see the craziness of being the duck pie piper, is what I joke around. And there the ducks go. This isn't the only food they get a day, so those that might be worried that this is the only time I feed them, this is their like main afternoon snack that they get, and they get the free range. And then I always have stuff inside, so they have access to food. They have access to food throughout the course of the day. So. Okay, now we only got a couple guys in here hanging out, so it's a whole lot easier to deal with this kind of crazy chaos. So let me put this back up here in its holder, and we'll go back to talking. The whole purpose of what we're supposed to be talking today is about woo-woo and your spiritual beliefs. So first and foremost, I think it is vitally important that you have a spiritual tradition. And I am not passing any judgment on what you choose to have that spiritual tradition. So I have jumped around, and I was raised Baptist, and I dated some Catholics, and I dated a girl who was Shinto, and I dated some Buddhists, and so I'm very familiar with a lot of the different religions. I personally have my own spiritual belief now, and one day, if you want to have a good conversation with me, we can talk about what my spiritual belief is and why I believe what I believe. But I am actually not, and I'm sorry if this offends anyone, but I'm actually not a Christian. I'm a Christian ally. I think that Christianity is vitally important for a lot of people, but after reading the Bible multiple times, and yes, I've read it multiple times, I am just an ally. I think it's very important. I believe in something that's a little different. I'm a reincarnationist. That's where my biggest disconnect with the Bible comes from. And out of respect of Christianity and out of respect of how the scriptures are written, calling myself a Christian would be an insult to those of you that are Christians. And so I say I'm an ally, and I believe something a little different. And my spiritual belief is definitely keeps me grounded and keeps me moving forward the same way my Christian friends that have their spiritual beliefs ground them and keep them forward. So we see all this suicide and all this depression and all of this negativeness that's happening in the world. And then I look to talk to those people, or I hear things that they have to say, and I realize that most of them are atheists, or they've left their faith and they didn't replace their faith with anything else. And I think that that is harmful. Now, I'm not saying you need to go to church every Sunday if you're a Christian. I'm not saying that you need to read the Bible every day. But if you do, that's spectacular. If that's what you're using to balance out the important stuff in your life. But I do think that you need to understand that there is stuff way outside of our control, and there is stuff that is woo-woo. That's just stuff that doesn't make sense that happens. And having some type of belief, it being a higher being, or even being that it's, a computer program or something, whatever. I'm trying not to pass judgment on whatever anybody chooses to believe, because we all believe a lot of variety of different things, and that's what's spectacular and great. And you should also question what you believe on a regular basis, because you need to make sure that the message that you're getting from your spiritual connection with the other realm is making you a better person. And if it is making you a better person, then you're absolutely on the right path. So I say all this, and the reason I feel that I can say all this is not only have I read lots of public work, and not only am I an ordained minister, that I can perform marriages and all the benefits of that kind of stuff, I also feel that as someone who was atheist for a very long time, that I am refinding the connection with a spiritual being, or as many of you would call it, a God. I think my insight is very unique. So let me just give you a little basic background of me. So I was raised Baptist. Not the Southern Baptist, but your typical Baptist, that if you didn't believe the same things that they believed in, that you were going to hell. And that was the beginnings of me starting to have a tough time believing in and my walk away from religion. And then when I was 13, my grandmother passed, and I didn't understand it, and there was no one to be able to explain to me why it made sense in a religious saying that if God was such a good person, why my grandmother would suddenly be taken. And so shortly after that, I became atheist from about the age of 13 till I would say early 20s. And then throughout my 20s, I was a practicing witch. I practiced Wicca. And I learned a whole lot about that religion and that faith. And I will admit that part of the reason I went to that was because so many folks was saying it was evil and that it was bad. And there was just some type of drawn to that because of that. And while I say, yes, there's lots of evilness that can be happening in Wicca, there's also a lot of good things. There's also a lot of really reconnecting with part of your spiritual being. And magic is real, and spells are real. And it is very important that you accept that as an individual. And I'm saying this with as much firm that I can. If you have the belief system that magic and spells are not real, then the evil can get into you and do really bad things. Understanding that there is power to that and that people will wield it to do really bad things is something that you should pay attention to. Now, I have friends that are agnostic, and I respect agnostics, because agnostics just mean that they don't know. and that they also might believe that it's unknowable. And I have a lot of respect for that, because if that's the way your mind works, that you need physical proofs and you can't just accept what you are told. I'm a skeptic of most everything, and so somebody saying that to me, utmost respect. Someone that I have friends that are die-hard Christians that believe that God has a path for them, and they have followed this path that God leads them. And I am like all for that. That is spectacular. I am so glad that you have that relationship with God, that you have that communication, that He directs you on that particular path. I have friends that are Buddhists, and they follow those particular beliefs. A lot of times, the reason I will play the Alan Watts on my channel in the evenings and throughout the course of the day is because it does a great job of helping, I think, people just understand that there's people that have similar beliefs but maybe have a different title. What I am most scared of, and I'm going to say scared, because I think sometimes we should admit to our fears and we should admit to being scared. I'm mostly scared of folks that don't have any type of belief in a higher being or a higher plane. Because if that's the case and they believe that nothing is going to happen to them after they die, they're not going to heaven, they're not going to reincarnate, nothing good or bad is going to happen to them, I worry that they are the ones that are going to make the bad decisions and that are going to not focus so much on how to be a good person and to how to have a good life. I also understand, and I also directly see that this environmentalness that we have, this belief in scientism is the best way I can put it. This belief, this idea that somebody that went to school, that knows more than you know, can tell you how science works. And while there's a lot of science that is absolutely spectacular and cool, there's also a lot of science that's just a bunch of theory bullshit crap. I'm not going to go all flat earth, or I'm not going to go all like other types of stuff on you right now, but we're being lied to a lot in science, a lot, and I think it's a control issue, and it's a control issue because they know how much money is involved. But again, that's not the purpose of this stream. The purpose of this stream isn't to talk about how life sucks. The purpose of this stream is to talk about how we can make it better and how we can have a spiritual belief system and how we can accept someone else's spiritual belief system that's not directly hurting ours. So I have friends, and I have friends on here that will talk to me about stone magic and the power of crystals and the power of stones. I'll have folks that I talk to on here that we will have really good religious Christian conversations. And the thing is I love to hear all of it. I love to hear what helps you get through the tough times, because I know, at least in my life, that there has been some really, really tough times, and any way possible I can get through them. So I will share a real personal story here for a second. So in my 20s, I had some suicidal thoughts. I would say that I would probably be on the borderline. I was probably on the borderline a couple times of being suicidal. Now, that being said, and I'm absolutely laughing. If you think that what you're hearing from me is laughter, it is. The whole reason I stopped being suicidal is because I had a friend tell me, well, dude, if you kill yourself, then you won't be able to tell your fun stories. And so I got to the point where, like, I can't kill myself because I've got a message to send to other people. I'm here for a reason, and my reason is to tell other people. So for the next couple years, that every time I kept thinking about being suicidal or anything of that sort, I would think in my head, yeah, but what about the poor people that won't get to hear my message? And so, yes, it's very nihilistic and a very egotistical way, but that was how I actually got through. That was actually how I got through some really tough times. And I say this because I say this, and how this links to my religious and spiritual views is shortly after that I became an ordained minister, because I had some friends that wanted to have a religious marriage, and they were just recently discovering the church. But the church that they wanted to go to didn't like that they weren't long-term Christians, and so said that they couldn't perform a religious ceremony for them because they weren't long-term Christians. And that bothered me, because these were people that wanted to find religion. They wanted some type of connection. And so that's where the cockiness of, like, well, I can do it. Like, I've read the Bible. I've read a lot of holy books. Like, what kind of Christians do you want to be? Let's make this happen. And so I, uh, I took some classes, and I became ordained, and I performed their ceremony, and it was a beautiful, beautiful religious ceremony. And even though it wasn't necessarily the same belief system that I had, it still was spectacular. It still was great. And they were happily married. And they were happily married into their eyes, under the eyes of God. And that was just spectacular to me. So I've also performed a lot of other silly ceremonies and marriages throughout the course of my life. One day, if you want to hear some of those stories, I will be more than happy to share them. But I've got lots of stories for those that are always interested. So I'm getting ready to take this to another room. So that's why I'm doing all this, because we're gonna move off, and it is time to feed the bunnies. And then I'll come back in here and check on everybody with their water and make sure Ducky has some extra feed. And I do need to check one thing. I do need to make sure that no one's got trapped in the feed, because unfortunately, one day last week, a chicken did. It was one of our favorite chickens, and it was all my fault. And it makes me sad. Okay, so here we are, heading out to the bunny barn next, because we're going to get the bunnies fed. So if you're someone that is lost, if you're someone that's lost and you currently don't have a spiritual connection, and you need some help or some guidance, let me know. I won't direct you into any particular religion. I will help you challenge what your current thoughts are, and I will help put you into a path that is best suited for you. So it's kind of like I'll do, spiritual witnessing, but I also don't believe that I should direct someone to a particular path or particular religion, but I can help you with what I know. And I say that because um, the Shinto has a bunch of collections of work, and I have read quite a bit of the collections of work of the Shinto. I know quite a bit of Native American religions. I was a pagan. I practice Wicca. I even know some of the more darker sides. I would rather you not go to Luciferianism or Satanism, but I do actually know quite a bit about those as well, because I had some friends that dabbled in that kind of stuff, and we can have honest conversations about all of this stuff. And if you need help and you have questions about reconnecting yourself with a spiritual being, please let me know. Um, or you just want to talk about religion or talk about stuff, let me know too. My purpose here, and I'm gonna sound crazy with this, and I'm sorry for those that don't like the woo-woo, but that was the whole purpose of this conversation. So my purpose, I had a strong conversation with what I call Source. Source is what most of you people call God. This existing is so that I can help other people become better versions of themselves. So that sharing my knowledge, through sharing my support, by just being a supportive cheerleader or helping them get into their particular path. That is the reason that I view that I am here. So that is my calling, that is my purpose. So if you think that's weird, odd, crazy, I have no problem with that thinking that, because I would have thought the same thing just a few years ago. If someone would have said, oh yeah, somebody knows their purpose of why they exist on this planet, they're crazy. They don't know that kind of stuff. I would have totally been that person that thinks that everything I'm saying right now is woo-woo crazy shit. But being around animals, being directly involved with nature, being responsible for hundreds of lives every day, and making sure that they're as happy and as content and as safe as possible really balances things out. So if you stuck around this long, I probably should share with you what my religious views are. So I consider myself a Zen animist deist. So the idea behind that is the Zen is everything is perfect. So I believe that Source, God as you may call it, has created everything perfect. And that is our job to just make the perfection even better. Thank you for the follow. Um, if you the animist is that everything has a spirit or a soul, and I view that as the great creator or source created everything for a reason, and everything has a strong positive energy, and we are a current being that can understand all of that, and we should respect that. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that there's reasons. Yeah, I have chicken radio, what's called chicken radio. There's a variety of music in each of the barns that you'll be able to hear a variety of music. So whatever's playing, that's what the chickens and such are jamming to at the particular moment. Every once in a while they get to listen to Alan Watts, and they get to be very knowledgeable about that as well. But right now we're jamming off the chicken radio. So to cycle back around to what I was just saying. So, and I'm not trying to convert. I actually don't need anybody to believe anything similar to what I believe. I would actually like you to find your own path, and if it means that you are a diehard Christian and that the story of Jesus is gospel, spectacular. You are a great person, and as long as you live your life in the footsteps of Jesus, I am perfectly cool with that. If you're a Buddhist and you like the Dalai Lama and you believe that, that is awesome. There's actually a lot of Buddhist things that I strongly believe in, I strongly support. So how did I become that crazy long subject, the Zen animist deist? How did I become that? So I'll first and foremost start off that, like I said, the Zen is perfection. I view that everything here is perfect. It is created with the mind, and that nature does not make mistakes. So that's where the Zen comes from. The animist is that everything has a soul and everything has a purpose, and there's a reason for everything to exist. I'm saying everything to the point now where I'm almost to the point where accepting that human-made objects also have an embodiment of the soul of creators that have put into that. And that's what's actually kind of sad about trash, and what's kind of sad about when we make just haphazardly things. We're actually still embodying them with a soul and a spirit, and we're not realizing the power that we actually have by doing that. And the deist is because I believe that we are, and this is the most controversial, so if you want to understand this better, what I'm about to say, ask me. Please try not to just judge me on this next statement. But the deist aspect is I believe we are all gods in training. I believe that we are created in the image of our God. That's the Bible states that, the Quran states that, the Torah states that. Even in a lot of Eastern religions, it states that we are created in the image of God. I directly translate that into we are gods in training. That it is our responsibility to do the best that we can, and the power that we were given, it is our responsibility to be as responsible and as caring and as good as possible. That's So it's I'm sorry it's quiet for a minute. I'm just making sure that everything is setting up and good to go back. So we are back to dealing with that issue. Okay, we should be back. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Sorry, I don't know why we lost signal. I don't know why any of that happened. Whatever we missed probably wasn't that important, so we were just going to skip it. So if someone just makes a comment down below for me just a second, just to make sure that we're good to go, I'm going to hold on for just about 10 or 15 seconds just to make sure that you guys can still hear me and that the internet is not being silly again. So, and I know that there is about a 18-second delay, so I'm waiting for that 18-second delay right now. And I'm watching my stream in this far corner so I can actually see myself when I tell you to make a comment. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much to let me know that we are good. That is super, super helpful. So, yeah, I lost my train of thought. Somebody just before Free Julian just said something and I missed it, so if you could be so kind and to rewrite that, whatever you just wrote again, so I don't have to go back and search for it in the chat, that would be spectacular, and I will be more than happy to answer what you have to say. And I will tell you stuff, if you need help reconnecting to understand that life is spiritual, just spend some time with some animals and you will realize like how wonderfully created they are and how loving animals can be. I mean, they're also animals, so they can be crazy, crazy mean and selfish and a lot of other that silly things, but they also can be super loving and very caring. So here you guys want to see Sylvia because she is absolutely hungry and she's mad at me right now. There's Sylvia. I'm going to get her a little bit more food because that wasn't quite enough. So I guess the truth is, I guess the powers to be did not like me talking about my spiritual connectedness. So so be life, I guess. That happens. So every day that I wake up, I look at how awesome life is outside and how awesome my life really is, even though to some people you would consider my life an absolute crazy train wreck of silliness. I view life every day as a great fun adventure and something that I absolutely love. Why? Because it's what we got today, and today is the only day that exists. Because once we start talking about anything past now, now is anything past now is something that is either in the future or it is in the past. And both of those are things that we have zero control over anymore. But now is what we have control over. Or if you ever watched the Spaceballs thing, where they did the whole video and they did this going on now, and you had the camera and the screen, and yeah, that's an epic scene. Here we go. You can see it's a bunny, one of the bunnies that are one of the outside bunnies that hops around and lives outside. So give me just a second. Okay. Sorry, silly camera. Okay. My screen froze up. My little screen that I was watching froze up, and I just wanted to make sure that we weren't frozen up again. So how about you guys? How about everyone out there in the internet land? What do you have to say? Actually, I might be able to go back and read that comment that someone else wrote. Let me see. So yeah, it's getting ready to snow here soon. Oh, so let me cover some other little things. So I actually have lots of silly traditions that are kind of spiritual and beliefs. So like one of the spiritual beliefs that I have is coming up in just a few days. It's called 12th night, and I've been celebrating 12th night for quite a long time. So one of the big things with 12th night is to one of the big things with 12th night is make sure you have all your Christmas decorations down. That's kind of the lamest version, but also on 12th night, I use it to set the tone for my future year. So I pay attention to the weather because I think the weather on 12th night does a good job. And 12th night I actually celebrated on the 6th of January, for those that are wondering. So and on 12th night, I usually make sure so on 12th night I also make sure that I have a meal that I really enjoy eating and things of that sort. Okay, free Julian. We're gonna stop on a pause there on 12th night. Um, Bees. Get bees next year. Absolutely. Get bees. Let me fill this up so I'm not jumping around and actually doing, what I'm supposed to be doing today, which is actually working on my chickens and not just randomly talking to you guys. Okay. Let's go over here for a second. Get bees. Absolutely. Next thing you need to get is bees. Geothermal greenhouses are really cool, but just growing food in a greenhouse first. So get bees. These are beehives. Let me give you some advice. See this right here? Bee Smart. It's plastic. It is far better than this one. I like these plastic tops. That being said, don't get a plastic bottom. Get a regular, get a regular bottom one. Um, Geothermal greenhouses. Let me address that for. Let me address that. Learn to greenhouse first. Learn to grow stuff where you have in your greenhouse first. And the reason I'm saying that is because geothermal is expensive, and you can text drfirefly@gmail.com. You can send me a message. We can have some conversations about rocket mass heaters and using the wood burning stove and piping underneath your greenhouse and into your floors, especially if we talk about building a wafati, and that's kind of a greenhouse that's slightly built in the ground a little bit. Not quite as geothermal, but definitely a really good way to use passive solar and to use the energy that is being left over from the sun and things of that sort. But we will have conversations because that's actually what I'm planning on doing major here. But knowing how to grow some really good food first in your climate and knowing how it's going to affect what you have is definitely key. Then you can start really focusing on the geothermal, because I suggest doing the reason I'm saying all this is because you want to know what you can grow locally in your current environment inside a greenhouse first. Because just in case you run out of wood or something happens and you're not able to do that geothermal, or you keep coming up with reasons why, um, and why you come up with lots of different reasons, it's really easy to justify, well, I don't have a greenhouse yet because I'm going to do geothermal, or I don't have this project yet because I'm going to do this. Start off with the easy project first. Then once you get that scaled down, then you move over to the more complicated ones and things of that sort. That being said, if you're going to have a garden, and this is to anybody out there that's planning on having a garden, if you are going to have a garden, you want bees. Sexy, right? Absolutely want bees. There is nothing better. You will get no better fertilizer. You will never get a better yield than the year that you have bees doing your garden thing. You get to look at the sky for just a second because I have to put on this glove, and I realized how sexy it was to watch me put my glove on with my mouth. So bees, spectacular. If you don't know a lot about bees, hit me up. I will send you some videos on how to learn some more about bees. I actually have some bee videos on my YouTube channel, which is Mavis Manor. There's some videos about doing bees. I will share all the knowledge. I've been raising bees now for 3 years. So this particular year, I pretty much lost all my bees, but I actually know why I lost my bees, so I'll actually be able to give you some advice on how not to lose your bees. But bees, so let me put this water down for a second because I want to show you something so you have some basic understanding of why I think bees are so cool. See that tree right there? That is a tiny little pine. That is a tiny little pear tree. I got almost 2,000 pears off of that tree because of my bees. So flow hives are great if you live in an area that doesn't get really cold. If you live in an area that gets really, really cold, the flow hive can be harmful to your bees. So I would say cold as in you're going to have a harsh winter. So if you have a harsh winter, do not get a flow hive. If you live someplace below, like if you live someplace maybe the Carolinas or lower, or the equivalent of that out west, then a flow hive will be just fine. Of honey so that they can eat all the honey that they need because the honey is their food on how they get through the winter. Uh-oh, hold on. I did it again. Not sure what happened. Okay, here we go. I just needed to make sure that I didn't reboot it, and I didn't, so we're good. Okay. Yes. So let me explain to you something about a flow hive. A flow hive, you are stealing all of the honey that the bees are working really hard to do. And if your purpose is honey, great. If your purpose is fertilization, then don't spend all that money on a flow hive. Let's peek over here at this hive for just a second. I'll get the water in just a second. So just get yourself a nice regular hive. Okay. This doesn't have bees in it. All the bees died, so that's why I'm opening it right now. So this is a feeder. So this is all the bees. They built this all themselves. What's really cool is if you look very carefully, you'll actually see, and I'll show you on this one, there's a line right here and a line right here and a line right there. You'll see that there's a metal line there. You can take this frame off, you can rip this off, and it makes a square comb like this big. These are called Amish. These are called Amish hives. You can take, or Amish frames, and you get this metal strip right here. You can crush all of that up, and you've got honey. You can put it. You can take one of those. I just use like a grater, and I'll grate across here, and it'll open up. When these are full of honey, it'll open all up this. I'll just dip it like this, dump the honey in, and then once I drained all the honey, I'll dump it out. But a lot of people like comb, and so like I'll just do that, and then I'll leave that in with the honey so that the folks want the comb. Seeing if there's actually any honey. There is no honey in this one. Let me see if my other hive still has any honey left over in it. We'll we're gonna jump over here one more second. Sorry, guys. I know this is probably not the most entertaining for all of you, but this is what I like. I love bees. So I actually don't wear a veil anymore. I mean, I wear a veil, but I don't wear any suits of any sort. My significant other, she doesn't actually have to wear a veil. Oh, so what this is called a castle, or a another word that I can't think of. I get stung about once every time I get into the hive. I'll get stung. That's just typical. The most I've got stung in any particular hive is I did some crazy messing with it, and I got stung about 15 times. And I actually used to be allergic to bees, and I'm no longer allergic to bees. So I don't have any honey in here, so I can't show you that, but I'm going to have to set this right here for right now because I have to fix this. Yes, you will get stung. You will absolutely get stung. Don't let anybody tell you. I don't care if you wear a bee suit. I don't care what you do. You will get stung. If you raise bees, you will get stung. That is That is the perk and the downfall to raising bees. And I call it a perk because getting stung is actually really good for our immune system. So, unfortunately, there was no honey in that one to show you. Maybe I have some hives inside my house. Yes, inside my living room. If you've watched any of my other videos, they're actually right at my feet. I actually have hives because I'm trying to keep one of my queens alive because I'm doing a crazy experiment to see if after the entire colony collapsed, if I can keep a queen alive all winter long inside the house, inside a hive. Yeah, dude, I am not big on getting stung either. I hate it. Um, I used to have crazy adrenaline rushes about getting stung, but I wear a veil now because I don't want to get stung on the face. But in general, I go, I operate, I had 6 hives last year, and I would get stung one time after opening all 6 hives. So I think the odds are pretty good there. And once you get stung, and you usually get stung because you make a really bad decision, like you drop something or you piss off the bees or you don't realize when they tell you they don't want you to be doing something. So, but I like the control of not having to wear the gloves. And I also don't smoke my bees very much. So that's another thing. Maybe if you smoked your bees a little heavier, you might not get as stung. But one stung per week opening 6 hives, I think's pretty good. The other thing is make sure you know what kind. Smoke slows it down. It doesn't prevent it, but it will slow down you actually getting stung. Because what the smoke does is it makes the bees think that something's happening, and so they rush in and they go down to the bottom of the hive to protect the queen and to make sure that she's all good to go and everything of that sort. We gotta go back out there. Oh, here it is. Here's my cup I'm looking for. So we're going back outside in just a second anyways, because I needed to grab a waterer. The other thing is you want to get bees that are genetically nice. So carnolias are one of my favorite. Italians are pretty nice. Stay away from the Russians right now. I have some Russians. Um, when the Russians are nice, they're great bees. When they're mean, they will kick your butt. So I would say Russians are a 2 or 3 year bee to add down the mix. But carnolias and you'll see them written as carnies. So carnies and Italians are the 2 best ones to start off with. Okay, let's hope that it doesn't cut out again here in the bunny barn, because I need to give all the bunnies some water. And so I actually, you can't, I grabbed the wrong one. You can actually order them online. I would highly suggest finding a bee club or finding a local bee distributor. If you need any help with that, just send me an email, give me a rough idea where you live, or give me your zip code, and I will I'll make some phone calls, and I'll call them and make sure that they're good bee distributors and tell them that I know somebody that's a first-time beekeeper and into that kind of stuff. And I'll do the work for you, or if you don't want me to do the work for you, I'll rate the people and tell you what I think about how they do their bees and where their bees come from. But yes, I don't just order them through the mail. I want to know a little bit about where the bees are coming from and to get as much information as I possibly can about the bees, because I don't want someone to tell me that they're carnies and they happen to be bred with killer bees. That would actually be horrible here. Because as you saw, I walk past my beehive every single day, and my beehive is right smack in the middle of my farm, in the farm lab, simply because I want the bees to get used to being around all the animals and to not get panicked when stuff gets close to their enclosure. And I've had no, besides opening the beehives and getting in there and doing stuff, I've never been stung, or anybody that's came and hung out here and walked around the lab and the farmstead and such like that, they've never been stung either. So that's kind of the key. I only want the bees to be aggressive when their hive is being addressed. And that's important because I don't necessarily want skunks and bears and all the other kind of stuff to be bothering my bees. So I want them to be fine. I don't mind if they're a little aggressive when somebody's messing with, when someone's messing with the hive. I just don't want them to be aggressive if someone's walking past it. So I hope that helps. Also, I saw you mention goats. Be an awesome fence builder if you're getting goats, because goats are spectacular at getting out of every fence known to man. So I don't have goats for that whole reason. So I'm actually going to be getting sheep probably next year. Is the next animal I'll be adding to my homestead collection. For the simple fact is sheep aren't the ninjas that goats are, because goats are like absolutely crazy ninjas. So I'm going to actually be quiet for off and on for the next minute, because I actually need to make sure that I get everybody water, because the food is easy to remember. The water is vitally important for their survival. So that is the one thing I cannot risk forgetting, because we all want fresh water. So my significant other, LJ, who's usually out here, Lisa, you'll hear me refer to her as, she's a vegetarian, so we don't eat any of our animals. I'll rephrase that. We don't kill any of our animals. So all of our animals are either rescued or animals that we got because we thought they were really cool and we wanted to learn. So my main purpose of my chickens and ducks is eggs, and just to keep up their cool working. Like, ducks are really good at pond building, and they're really good at keeping a lot of vermin in such a way. I have guineas simply for the fact that guineas will they'll slow down a lot of predator loads, and they will let you know if anything crazy is happening on the farm. They are pretty much like built-in alarm systems that can't be tricked. Like, unlike a dog or something that you could throw some meat down and possibly trick them, if you throw some meat down at a guinea, or you throw some food down at a guinea, they will yell at that food because they don't know who threw it down. So that's why I have guineas. So rabbits, all of my rabbits were rescue rabbits. Well, the ones that didn't breed here. But the rescue rabbits started off as rescue rabbits. Yes, half my rabbits are meat rabbits. And I sell some of them as meat rabbits to other folks. But we do not butcher anything here. I don't have the ability to butcher animals. That being said, I will eat my animals if someone else does all the work, all the butchering and such for them. I will raise them, make sure they have an awesome, awesome life, make sure that if someone is actually going to butcher them, that they're butchering them the most safest, humanest, happiest way possible. But I can't do it myself. So, no, if you collect their eggs and you don't let your ducks hide the eggs, because I slacked at my job as being a farmer. If you don't let the ducks just hatch all of their eggs and you collect their eggs on a regular basis and you find their nests, you will not get overrun by ducks. So I started off with about 10 ducks, and then I raised another 10 ducks because I had someone come that said that they wanted to buy 10 ducks from me. So I raised another 10 ducks with the idea that someone was going to buy all 10 of them off me, and I was only going to keep a nice small flock of 10 ducks. Well, that person decided that after I hatched the ducks and I had a bunch of ducklings, that they didn't want to buy the ducks anymore. So I got stuck with 20 ducks. And then last year, late fall, I got caught up in a project, and I was also working for the census at the time. I got caught up in a project, and I started working with the census, and one of the ducks had a secret hideaway where she kept her eggs, and I thought I knew where it was, but I just didn't have the time to go search for it and such like that. Well, one day she comes walking out with 20 ducklings. And so in a short period of time, I double my duck flock, just because I didn't pay enough attention to where she was laying her eggs and such. I was a bad chicken farmer. I was a bad duck farmer. So no, it's not. It's very, very easy to keep track of how many ducks you have and to not let them overbreed and to not have too many ducks. So yeah, I have like I said, I had two channels. One channel is so that it streams fat. One channel is so that I can restream the stream, and the other channel is my main channel. So I think I have them slightly different colors, so I know which channel I'm talking to, but sometimes I don't. So yeah, so it's so I would say don't worry about if you're going to spend time with your ducks and you're going to spend some time, you're not going to be overran by ducks like I am. You'll make better decisions. Now, I will warn you that there is this thing called chicken math, and duck math falls right into the same thing as chicken math, where you'll start off saying, I only want 5 chickens. And in about 6 months, you'll have way more than 5. Just a absolutely fair warning. And if you are a female or you have a female in your life, it will for sure happen, because you'll be like, oh, look at this cute, cuddly little chicken. Not this one. She's not very cuddly. How about him? There we go. Look at this cute little cuddly rooster. He's so nice. I want lots of them. And so you end up getting lots of them, and you figure out that you've got way more chickens than you're supposed to have. And so you give them away, or you trade them with your friends, or you just end up building more cages. So for those that are seeing this for the first time, all of these are my indoor chickens. These guys every cage is custom built and modular. Like this one, I can take this one out, and it goes outside on a plot of land, and they do the mowing and the fertilizing for a future garden plot and everything like that. So that is something to, I've got the free range, and I've got the other ones. Those guys are too small to be free range. Let me just give you an example. Let me grab one of these guys to show you what the difference is, so you can see clearly the difference. So this is a Silkie. As you saw me carrying that rooster, the Silkie's quite a bit smaller. Silkies are also great starter chickens for anyone because they are super fluffy. They are super friendly. I caught her, just so you want to know. And they are spectacular egg layers. So if you're going to start off homesteading, so let's just talk about homesteading here for a second for anybody that's interested. If you're going to start homesteading, I would say start off with ducks, then get chickens, then get bees, then focus on awesome gardening and growing a lot of stuff, because all of your scraps from your gardening, all of the roughage that you're not going to use, you can feed to your ducks and your chickens. After you get that down, then you can start moving to hooved animals, and that can decide if you want a pig, if you want a goat, if you want a sheep, if you want a cow, if you want an ox, a llama, something of that sort. But chickens and ducks, where you want to start. Bees are next. I would go in that order. Or do the birds and the bees. The birds and the bees. Crazy talking today. So I need to get everybody some water. So it'll be a second. If you type anything, it'll just be a second. I'll be able to see it in just a second. I'm trying to keep my eye on it from here. I've got it signed up so I can see it go across the screen. And see, like I was telling you guys, we initially started talking about the woo-woo and spiritual beliefs, and now we're back to talking about homesteading and chickens because, well, that's why we're here, isn't it? To talk about farming. And you guys get to be out here, and hopefully some of you will get the wonderful opportunity to be on a farm one day, either of your own or coming and visiting me or going and visit somebody else's. So yes, horses are hay burners. I agree. If you ride them, there is a lot of perks. There is a lot of perks to riding horses. I owned a horse at one particular point. I got it in a trade for some hay, and great horse. I loved it. She was a young Palestino. Great horse. Loved it. She ended up getting sick though, and cost me a whole lot of money to then take it to the vet. To the vet then ended up having to put her down, but that couldn't tell me why they even had to put her down. So, I like horses, and if you've got the extra money and you've got the extra time, you should get a horse because they're really fun and you will learn a lot about it. If you don't have any of them, don't start off with horses. You don't need a pony, you need a chicken. And as you see all this, just so you know, none of this, yes, it was a lot of time. I spent a lot of time in here, but my investment wasn't anywhere near as much as you might think. You can start off really slow. When I lived in the suburbs in the inner city, hey, roaring T-Rex. When I start off in the inner city, and then lived in the suburbs for a while. I actually used to raise chickens in there, so I actually know. Thank you for the ice cream. Horses do not provide breakfast. So I actually used to raise chickens and such in the inner city. Very inexpensive to get into raising them. If you're not allowed to raise them in your particular area, then it does take. There is a little bit of gaming that you have to do of the system, and you have to kind of learn how to play the game properly. And what you're watching me do is be the absolute lazy farmer. That's actually why I set this up, is so I could be lazy. It's like serving people. I feel like a waitress or a waiter, if you want to add gender to that. But yeah, chickens, and if you live in the city, bees. You can absolutely raise bees in the city. Most cities actually allow you to raise bees. And actually some states now will actually give you money or tax write-off for having bees and such because of the colony collapse disorder and how they're genuinely concerned of what's actually happening and such. So, and if you're younger than me, which I think you have to, I don't know, if you're young, let's just put it this way. If you're young and you're watching this, there are grants for you. If you're a minority, there are grants for you. If you're a woman, there's grants for you. And if you're a veteran, there are grants for you. If you fall in any of those categories, there is an agricultural grant for you. You should take advantage of it. Anything that can help you start off with a little bit of farming. If you follow the Ugly Jew in his Discord, I actually posted some links to just to show ideas of what land costs. So there is about 250 acres, or I think it's exactly 214. There's 214 acres right up the road from me that they want about 254. I'm positive you could probably get it for 200. Or all of us could get together and we could buy it for 200. But $1,000 an acre is very realistic for especially Appalachia. And if you're saying, well, how am I going to get away to farming? How am I going to do all this kind of stuff? I don't have the money. It's not as expensive to homestead, to get off the grid. The truth is, it's a lot more sacrifice than anything else. So I was a socialite. I was a city kid. I loved living around a lot of stuff. I go to coffee houses on a regular basis. My significant other, she'd go to shows. I liked having grocery stores nearby. But after homesteading and doing this now for about 15 years, I realized that a lot of that is... Actually, though, 140 acres, that is spectacular. I am absolutely 100% jealous. We will have to talk, because if it is wooded and hilly, there is tons of opportunities that you have, especially in Kentucky. because Kentucky is pretty much just like West Virginia. But land is pretty cheap. It's pretty easy to get into. You're just doing moving to the country life. You're mostly just you're giving up a lot of stuff. So I have to do a few part-time jobs here and there. I do computer fixing. I've worked for the census a couple times. I have my farmers market stuff set up. Hold on, I'm stuck. Huh, I'm stuck pretty good. Okay, 1 second, guys. I can't even put down the phone. I'm so stuck. Unstuck. Yeah, he could make his own Kentucky Fried Chicken. Okay, I'm unstuck. Yay. So, so yeah, don't let the idea of land and all that kind of stuff scare you away. The other thing is you'd be surprised how much you can do without once you have to do without. Like, we only drive into town like once a week, which is awesome. Unless I'm working on someone's computer or doing something else, we only go in town once a week, and we can usually pretty much handle most everything else. And right in this time of year, I don't even have a lot of crops to eat, so it's not because I've got endless amounts of food here. It's just because we've just cut down what we actually need. The other thing is if you can get into a community and you can share stuff, even if the community is just family, that can actually do a whole lot of great things too. And getting out of debt, not having credit card debt and not having other debt, that is a big thing. So right now we were out of debt most of last year. I did have to make a fairly decent purchase about 2 weeks ago. So we are about $500 in debt again, which I do not like being in debt, but $500 is manageable. I can I can work and make some big decisions, or I can do some really focus on some crypto trading, and I could get out of that debt in a very short period of time. So we try to focus on that. I'm feeding this rabbit out here, if that's what you're wondering what I'm doing. So, and if yeah, well, I'm a doer, T-Rex. I love the idea of talking about stuff, but I also like the idea of just getting it done and doing it. So, and I also like the idea of helping other people do it. So sometimes I'm a doer for other people too. Like, I was like, oh yeah, you want help doing this? Just give me a call. I'll be over. We'll go work on it tomorrow. And so I think that too much it gets easy to just talk about doing something and how that's a great idea, and not just getting in there and doing it. So that being said, if you want to homestead, if you want to farm, if you want to do any of that, it's not as hard as you think it is. And if you're nervous about it and you need like a cheerleader or somebody to support, hook me up. Get a hold of me. I will tell you all the tricks on what I did to not make it work the first couple years, so you can try to not have to make those same mistakes. Okay. I'm going to, everybody is fed and everybody is good, and I want to go walk to the top of the mountain because I have not got to do that yet today. And I think I've only walked up there once so far this year, and I used to do it. I used to like to walk up there once a day. So we're going to go for a quick little walk up the mountain. And I've got 47 battery life, and on top of all that, I brought a charger, so the battery shouldn't die today. Anyways, so homesteading, not anywhere near as hard as you think it is when it comes to starting it. I mean, is it work? Oh, absolutely, it's work. If you are used to... So property tax, I have 33 acres. We are set up as a farm, and my property taxes is $1,200 a year on 33 acres here in this particular county. So there's a city building, in one of the local cities called Princeton that I'm possibly eyeing at buying for my headquarters for my classroom space. And the property taxes on that building is $45 a year. So property taxes in the right parts of West Virginia is not bad at all. That being said, I'm also working on trying to buy some property with my nonprofit because I run a nonprofit called the Mavis Institute, and I'm trying to find some property there. And if I buy that property through the nonprofit, there'll be zero property taxes on that. So that's one of the tricks, is trying to take advantage of all of the loopholes and rules that exist. So West Virginia is definitely one of the more affordable places to live, as long as you're willing to go without some stuff. Like if you're used to living in the city, there's going to be some stuff with West Virginia that's going to be hard. So, and I will tell you from working with the census this year or last year and I'll probably be working again this year, the population of West Virginia is going to continue to drop because employment, for two reasons, is hard to find here. One, as an employer, it's hard to find someone that's not on some type of drug, and not just recreational drugs, but a lot of oxys, a lot of Xanax, a lot of other stuff, to the point where they can't even be suitable workers. And two, there's just a lot of people living on the check here. And I'm not passing any judgment on anybody living on the check, but they live on the check, and so they don't see the need to have to go get a job. So that's the tough things around here. And so by in turn, that means a lot of large employers don't bring big businesses here that pay very well and stuff like that. Yeah, though, we say dang about the drugs, but when I lived in the inner city and I lived in other things, drugs are just bad just about everywhere. So at least there's plenty of wonderful, great, nice people around here. And you can easily tell the difference between the folks on the drugs and the folks that are not. And some of the folks on the drugs, it's not even necessarily their fault. They got hurt in the mind, and then they got addicted, and they never got taught how to get unaddicted from being on a drug. So I have a lot of I'm a very compassionate person. So I joke around and tell people that I'm an alt-right hippie. So I'm very moderate in a lot of ways, and I am absolutely socially liberal and fiscally conservative. I think everyone has a story, and I think that there's a lot of people that once you understand their story, you'll understand why they're in the hardship and such that they are. And while I do believe that we should be able to pull ourselves up from a bootstrap, if you don't even have the boots yet, or you don't know what boots are, then I can't expect you to pull it from the bootstrap. So that means that it's my responsibility to help those people. Yes, I absolutely roaring. That is so, so true. I have so many friends that's been addicted on drugs, and I've had to help. And I have tried, and I have done a really good job. One of my really, really close friends got one time moved out with a girl and got hooked on heroin, and it took us 2 years to get him off heroin and off of anything like related to heroin. And it was all because he was at a party with a girl one time and thought he would impress her and thought it would be cool. And I saw the struggle was real for him. It wasn't that that he just really wanted to use it and things of that sort. It was a social pressure, and it was a physical addiction. I I don't have a lot of addictions, so it's harder for me to understand. I have a very strong willpower to say no the first place, but I watched my dad, how tough it was for him to quit smoking, and I think it's just smoking, which seems like it'd be a really easy thing to quit. And I watched how hard it was for him, And my little sister, she's been smoking since she was like 16, and she's in her 30s now, and she just has a tough time quitting. So I have a lot of compassion for people that get addicted and just don't know how to break that cycle, and want to do everything I can to help them. So I don't get angry and shake my fist at them or call them freeloaders or anything. Everybody has a reason they're in the situation that they are. If we help those people get out of that situation, things will be a lot better than to be angry at them and call them names, or, you know. So if you're one of those the folks out there that, never mind, not a big deal. So, but yeah, no, there's a lot of opportunities here in West Virginia though, and actually in Appalachia altogether. Yes, yes, I agree. I have I agree with you completely. I have seen the physical addiction that people have. Man, does it look tough, and thank God I don't have it. Or if I do, I don't realize it, and it's nothing that I'm addicted to is directly affecting my life negatively. Because maybe we are addicted to things, we just don't realize it. But here in Appalachia, if you're a go-getter and you are an entrepreneur and you're willing to take some gambles, there are some great opportunities here. I mean, spectacular opportunities. Like if I had some people that were more into hay baling and doing hay farming and had some equipment and such, there is so many farrow fields around here that we could all partner up and we could make a killing just doing hay. And that's just hay. That's not even addressing, like, next year I'm really going to be focusing on, I'm going to be building a greenhouse, and I'm going to be focusing on creating food because the local schools have got grants to buy local food, and there's just no one here that grows enough local food for the schools, and they have this grant money that they have to use. So sometimes they're going, quite a few counties away or going states away to buy this local fresh food. And so there's those opportunities. If you're skilled in anything, there are enough people around here that need those skills. So West Virginia is full of two types of people. It's full of, well, I'll rephrase that. It's full of three types of people. It's full of the people that's grown up around here that live on the check, that live on the check, that just don't know any other way because that's just the way life is. And those people will always be here, and those people will always do their thing. The next is there is some filthy, filthy, stinking rich folks around. I know some of them, like, for example, our governor. He is the richest man in West Virginia. And I know some of his friends. Actually, I've met him a couple times personally. And they want high quality products. And right now they're getting it from out of state, but if they could get it in state, they would totally buy it from being in state as well. And then there's folks like me that are the homesteaders, that are the teachers, that are the folks that are just trying to find that middle way. Because sometimes I think the middle way is the way that you really want to go. And there's us, and we have lots of opportunities. And man, would it be useful if there's some folks that lived around me that focused on, like, I'll just be honest, like, I'd love to have some folks around that knew how to do some basic carpentry so that we could together build some awesome houses, and that not worried about going through all the legal permits and crap like that, just to have the skill set of coming in here and doing some carpentry. Or had some folks that wanted to come around and we could do some canning, and we could do some large scale canning, or even just set up like some local breweries, or grow our own medicine, and really focus on doing that more of just like a me scale, but more of like a community or local scale. I mean, a lot of the stuff I do because I don't have access to, and so, like, I do it for myself, but I would very much exchange focusing on buying it from somebody that I trust, that I know what they're doing, than me doing it myself, so I could actually focus on some of the other endeavors that I'm super interested in. So, yeah. it's that whole idea that this year I am going to do everything I can to build community. I will be honest, with the exception of online, with folks like you guys that are watching this right now, folks that watch Owen, folks that watch Lift the Veil, The Ugly Jew, on YouTube, people like Justin Rose or Curtis Stone. There's not a lot of, I don't feel like there's a lot of people that do what we do anymore. And if they are, they're more of, they stay quiet, they're more of the survivalist type. Yeah, I'm not going to walk all the way to the top of the mountain because it's really windy, but there's one of the cell towers that I've told you guys about. So, and the Ugly Jew is going to be talking about 5G today, so cell tower is bad. Anyways, um, yeah, once we build community and we can make things actually function and trade things, and I'm even saying community doesn't, with modern technology and how good the mail system works and how reliable cars are, community can actually be a lot larger than it used to be. It doesn't need to be a tight-knit little community. No, I agree. Yes. No. The other thing I have to say though is, speaking on top of that, the other thing is I think it's great that wicked things have names so that we can easily tell people what they are, and so that we can easily talk about them, and just lots of stuff. But yes, I understand exactly what you're saying. I just don't have the right words at the particular moment to say how I agree, if that makes if that makes sense to you folks out there in TV land. I mean, TV is another great television. That's another just great word that just shows how horrible things are. Oh, you own a dojo? That is awesome. Like before I was a dancer, I practiced karate a long time, and I always wanted to get back into it, but I wanted to do it more in a communal setting. But yeah, no, that's cool. So thanks for sharing. You don't have to be anywhere near Southern West Virginia or the Carolinas or anywhere here on the East Coast that I could swing by and you could teach me some stuff. Because I think it's also good, that falls in that category of knowing how your body works and being able to use your body properly. It's also a good way so that you can recognize when your body's failing or when something's not working exactly right. Since I've been in healthcare in 15 years, I spent a lot of time focusing on trying to figure out why my body's not working the way it works, or why things are doing what they do. And at this particular point, like, I could probably diagnose myself faster than any doctor could. Okay, dude, I'll see you in just a few. We still got a little bit of time. I'm just heading down this way. I still got plenty of battery life left on the phone, so we should be good to go. So I can't tell if Owen is still chatting away. Which by the way, I like Owen. I think he's really fun. He's really good. You're going to get a lot of information from him. And he's got his own stepping stool to get people to a particular thing. But you won't see me watching him very often because I am at a different stage now. And I like listening to what he has to say, and I like that he's turning on a lot of people to a lot of stuff. But the same reason why I watched Alex Jones earlier in the day, and then as the information started fading away, I do a lot of my own research. I like to learn what other people have to say, and I normally don't like to listen to what somebody else tells me. I'll like listen to what they say, get some ideas, and then I'll dig deep into it because I want to make up my own opinion on just about everything, even opinions that I may think I've had a couple years ago. I like to go back and question my own opinions. That being said, if anybody ever thinks I'm knocking Owen, if anything I have to say, that's not the purpose. I'm not ever. I don't really like to knock too many people. I don't like to throw shade on anyone. I just sometimes will call things out, especially if they annoy me a little bit. I might call them out. That's just a FYI for any bears that are currently watching. So I will probably never ask Owen to be a bear. That's another thing you'll hear. You'll probably never hear me say that either. I don't need to be part of somebody else's. I don't need to have the validation of somebody else's community to be who I am. That being said, I love all you bears out there, and you guys have learned a lot of awesome stuff. So, hey, thanks, man. I'm glad that you found me through Lift the Veil. That's man, Nathan has got his um that team between Nathan and Skills and how they research things and how they figure stuff out and the way they look at the way they just dig in there. They are so valuable to the community, and I've learned so much from them throughout the course of the years that I am so glad that they exist, and I'm so glad that I found them years ago because they have helped me properly go down the right path. So, and I'll be honest, guys. Years ago, I was not this upbeat and this happy as I seem today. I at one point, if you ever followed me on Facebook back in the day, you will see I used to be really hardcore negative. I used to be really black-pilled. I used to be very hopeless. And then just a couple cool events happened in my life, and some negative events happened too. I lost some friends at a very young age, and I just decided that it's really good to try to be happy every day, even on days, especially on days that it seems to be extra hard to be happy. I try to find the perk of every day. Like right now, I don't know if you've been seeing when I've been walking, but it's been sleeting a little bit and slightly snowing. I've decided that I'm super excited about the snow coming, and I'm just looking forward to it now. So I've said, you know what? I want the snow. I think it's great that we're going to have the snow. And yeah, like that. And I suggest try this one time. Next time you're out and about, just smile at people. Don't have to say a single word to them. At a cashier, at anyone, just smile. Just a genuine, not one of those creepy smiles, but a genuine smile. So I am 41. So I was born in 78. So I am 41 years old now. I do not feel 41. There is nothing about 41 that I think I feel like. I will go off and do stupid stuff like I still did in my 20s. I will say, though, late nights are a little bit harder than they used to be. So I'm in southern West Virginia. If you, I don't have the map up right now, but if you look up Flat Top, you'll see where I live. So I have no problem with people knowing where I live. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, so yeah, I can't do the late night. I can't do the like 24-hour late night crap that I used to be able to do, which makes me really sad because that was really fun. But on the same aspect, I just kind of okay. I didn't know that you can do that where you can lower the resolution on your for for having not good internet connection. That's pretty cool to know. Thank you. So yeah, let me just show you. This is another reason right here. I'm going to show you. This is one of my favorite spots. This is another reason why I'm just happy about where I live. So everything like my property runs this way, goes that way. There's my house right there, all that field, up the mountain, and everything around here. And the reason I'm happy about this being my field is not a bragging aspect, but just the fact that this is just it's so nice and beautiful, even at the time of year when I think it looks the worst. The fresh air, the nature, the wonderment that is the endless possibilities that sit here are just great. Okay, so you'll get a rare. This is about as rare as seeing Tim Pool without his hat on. So here's me without my hat. So I actually only have dreads on one half of my head. So I have 5 dreads. So I do it for spiritual purposes. but I also keep my hair short on the other side. So these dreads, I've had these dreads now for 7 years, 5 to 7, about, yeah, I would say about 5 to 7 years now. So one of them is actually a fake dread. This one is actually completely 100% fake. So yes, 5. There's reasons for 5, and when I add more, like I'm actually going to be adding 2 more dreads. I'll be making 2 more fake dreads made out of some lamb's wool from a lamb that I got to meet. So I'll actually be adding 2 more dreads in the near future, so I can be up to 7. But yes, I don't like symmetry. I like things to be in odd numbers. So like when I wear rings on my hand, I won't wear the same number of rings on each hand. So that's the reason why 5, hence the reason why this half of my body has dreads and this half does not. Sometimes I'll actually even shave this half of this down. So, but yes, I have dreads. It's very interesting down here because it is not very common for someone in Appalachia to have dreads. So, and my dreads are completely because I didn't wash my hair for. Okay, well, I'll tell you guys a little secret, so please don't hate me for this secret, but I have not put soap in my hair now for 10 years. So I do wash my hair with water and just let water run through it and focus a lot of time on getting all the grime and stuff out of it, but I actually do not put soap in my hair anymore, and then I brush my hair on a fairly regular basis to help keep it nice and healthy. But I was starting to have problems with reacting to shampoos and such with my scalp because I made some really bad decisions when I used to bleach my hair and dye my hair a lot as a kid. So I also always wear a hat. I love hats. They're probably my favorite. They're probably one of my favorite things. Oh, wow. Okay, guys, you got to see this. I know we're jumping off the subject real fast, but I hope this shows up cool. The sky right there is just spectacular. This is another reason why I love where I live. The camera is not even showing it as great as it really is. Man, got a beautiful sky. Give it another second. Ah, nice. Okay. Cool that you just don't get to see every day, and I get caught up in the whole like minute, the moment of it. So, and I actually had to stand like that because I needed to push the camera away because sometimes I don't like to look at things through a layer of through a screen, and I want to look at like how it looks like in real life. And so, but I also wanted to make sure you guys could see it too because you guys can't be standing here with me and seeing how awesome it is. So, but yeah, so yeah, my dreads came from me being lazy and wearing a hat all the time and letting my hair grow long and not washing it. So I got whatever. If you guys hate me for that, then there's plenty of other things I'll say throughout the course of the next millions of times that you listen to me that you'll hate me for something even crazier than that. So, like I used to be a SJW. So as silly as that sounds, I could argue I understand that whole crazy side way more than most people have any idea. So I actually have friends that are still strong SJWs that I'm neutral today. I'm a monarchist, if you want to know my political beliefs. I'm a monarchist. I believe that a strong local government is important and all the rest is a bunch of bullcrap. So I despise government, but I understand the importance of how we need it. Ooh, let's see if we can see these. So there's some 2 cool deer right up here. So we're going around a lot, like I said. I can zoom in. There's 2 deer right there, right on the other side of that tree. Okay, so I'll be honest, the best way to get someone out of being an SJW is to get them on a farm, is to get them to see that all the stuff that they see on TV and all the stuff they see around them is a bunch of bullshit. Um, I could find probably the craziest SJW and bring them here to Southern West Virginia and show them that all of their crazy mindset that they believe is wrong. Like, I can show them communities where black and white people live hand to hand, don't hate each other. There is no hatred towards each other because they've been living in this community together, and where most of the black and white people are actually the same. They're actually like the same family because of all the crazy history that happened here. I can take you to places that you talk about how horrible the environmental aspects of this and that is. I can take you to a place here in Appalachia that's been clear cutted. We can come back 2 or 3 years later where people's done proper management of the land, or even not even proper management of the land, just sometimes what nature can do, and how they can build it back and make it look really nice again, and how nature can sometimes fix a lot of our issues. I've noticed that most SJWs are from a city. So if you're in a city and you don't understand, you don't have the connection with terra firma, this planet we're walking on, you don't have the connection with this tree we're walking past, and you don't have these great connections with a lot of stuff, you come to think that your reality is real. And as I tell people, you'll hear me say this all the time, I live in my reality and you're just a guest. And that is because I've been told many times, well, because I live in West Virginia now, I'm ignorant of how, you know, white colonization has affected the black people. And I'm just like, I grew up in the inner city. Don't give me that bull crap, okay? Like, here in Appalachia, no one gives a shit about it. Like, government people and people in the high up don't give a shit about anyone. They don't care what color you are here. You're poor to them, and they'll just be like, whatever, we'll give you a new road in the near future, and then just never get around to doing it. So people around here solve their own issues. So I will in just 1 second, Mark, I'll talk about Tron and DLive in just a second. So around here, it's just also it's often forgotten, and it's really silly. And I don't know too many SJWs that live in this particular area. I do know a lot of crazy Trump supporters, and we will have conversations with those too, because sometimes I think that if you go too far to one side or the other, it's bad. I think more people need to be neutral. But enough about silly politics, because that is not that is not my focus. That is not something that's something I talk over some beers one-on-one with some folks, but I don't normally talk about stuff like that. So, Mark was asking some more about Tron and the DLive thing. So I will start off that I am a fan of Tron. I don't mind the coin. What I don't like is BTT, and that is the coin, that is the sub coin or the token that's built on top of the Tron network. A better way to put it is BTT is kind of like your grocery store card. I don't like it because I don't see the value of how it's going to be for me as a streamer, or for me as a watcher of a stream wanting to give something to one of my favorite streamers. I don't see how this is going to have any value. I don't see how this is going to make people to want to give to somebody else. I see this as something that is just going to be useful in, well, more to the Tron network. So to give a basic understanding of what Tron is, what BTT token is. So Tron is a cryptocurrency, and it's a cryptocurrency. I think there's going to be ultimately 1 billion in circulation, which means that you'll probably never see it worth more than $1. So as an investor, it's an okay investment right now at a penny, because if it gets up to 10 cents and you make enough, that's a pretty good investment. So as an investor, it has its uses. As a builder on the crypto network and such, I like that you can build on top of it. I gave an example like this earlier. It's kind of like having YouTube as a platform, and then we get to put videos and such on top of it. So it does have a utility use, and I like the utility use of Tron. BTT, which is built on top of Tron, So the BTT would be like a super chat, is a better way to put it. The problem with a BTT though is that it's a two-part. Right now, the way it's based is a two-part token. One, if you want to download torrents, and if you're not familiar with torrents, just imagine downloading something off of the internet. So if you put more BTT tokens towards something, you'll download it faster. So we're almost making a we're almost making a fast track. So if you've got money, you can download something faster if you're impatient. I understand that. Sure, some people might want to do that. You can also get paid BTT for hosting something. So you let something stay seated on your computer, which means that they're using your internet and your data storage. So they're using your hard drive to store that particular object. And they're using your internet speed to upload it to someone else. And so you get paid a small amount of BTT for allowing that to be stored. I get it. I think that's cool. And it is a total win-win for something like Tron because they can say, look, we have this out there in the world, and they don't really have to do anything about it except for they're going to get a small percentage of that exchange between the fast speed downloader and the person that's continuously hosting. Where I don't understand is how this is going to work in the DLive world. I get it once this is a replay. So if you're watching this later, like tomorrow or after I go offline, I totally understand why the BTT token could be used in that kind of setting. I don't want someone to give me a BTT token if I'm doing this live, because if I'm choosing not to archive this or I'm choosing not to do anything with this, there is no value to that BTT token for me other than as an investor. And most of us are not going to be investors. Well, most of you guys are probably not going to be investors. So there is no value in it. I like the lemons as they function right now as a stable value. That being said, I do think that Charlie Wang and Justin Sun, Charlie Wang is the current CEO or one of the two CEOs of DLive, and Justin Sun is the current owner CEO of Tron. They made some stuff very not clear. Like Charlie said we were keeping lemons, and Justin Sun said we were just moving to BTT tokens. Now, on the Tron network, we can build our own tokens. Like right now, any of us could get on there and we could build tokens. Did I freeze up? Let me make sure I didn't freeze up because my screen looks like it froze up. Okay, I didn't. Okay. I just want to make sure that I get this clear so that you guys know exactly what we're talking about. So BTT tokens, we could be building tokens. We could be building NRC10 and our NRC20 tokens. Those are just the names of depending on how it's built on the network. Both of those tokens can be built on top of the network. So I don't know why we're not doing that. Why he all of a sudden is saying we're going to be moving to these BTT tokens, other than they haven't found enough people actually wanting to use them. And if that's the case, that actually kind of makes me a little nervous, because right now those tokens have, let's just be honest, they don't really have a value. When something is less than 1/100th of a cent, there's no really value to it. I mean, I barely view Tron as being valuable, and it's at a penny. Because I'll be honest, how many of you will walk past a penny on the street and not pick it up? So I would have much rather see, like, and while I had issues with the lino, I had major issues with the lino, and as that person that called in to Lift the Veil show yesterday, who called into the Ugly Jew show yesterday, talked about how he noticed that they hadn't been doing any more developing and things of that sort. I had that same idea. I didn't know enough about the lino net, and I was kind of being lazy too, and didn't really focus so much on researching the lino net. So give me just 1 second. My battery life is running a little low, and I brought everything so I can make sure that my phone doesn't die. So let me just get this all hooked up so we're good to go. I have a little bit more to say. Now, I'll be honest, I've actually been looking around at other networks just to make sure that I have something else to possibly casting on and Mixer. And I think even right now I'm on Facebook just because I'm trying to get, during my talk to my Let's Feed the Chicken show, I try to get out to the greatest reach possible. But to it, in Trons, we're doing BTT tokens. So if Justin Sun would have said like, oh yeah, we're gonna give everybody the option to do Tron, I'd have been like, okay, cool. I'm okay with that because Tron is right now worth about the same as a lemon. Great. I would have much preferred us moving to a different type of network. And now maybe we'll find out a whole lot more on the 15th, and it'll be stuff that I do not need to worry about, and all of this concerns that I'm currently having will just go away, and everything will be great, and everything will be hunky-dory, and Justin Sung will just be wanting to mine the crap out of what we talk about, because that is something I also think that is part of his plan. Is I mentioned it yesterday, and I mentioned it earlier today in my other show about TikTok, and what I mean by that is they want to build an algorithm around the stuff we talk about and how to market to us. And I think a lot of us that are talking truths, and I'm not even talking truth that much, I just kind of telling you how I see things, but like Owen and Lift the Veil and the Ugly Jew and Red Ice and Nick Fuentes or Nick whatever his name is if I didn't say it right, and all these other people, um, I think that if Justin Sung is smart and he also wants to be a little manipulative, he will realize that he can market to that whole group of people and make a lot of money, kind of like we did in the 2000s with the Doomsday Preppers and with Y2K folks and such like that. So hopefully, as horrible as this sounds, hopefully he'll see the value in keeping us all around, and we will have a nice platform for free speech until one of us can figure out a way to build on top of the torrent network, so we can actually run our own that's solely dedicated to um, proper free speech for everyone in the world, not just us in North America, but a lot of other countries need a free speech platform as well. So that's actually where it goes back to why I actually think that we do need a bill of rights for the internet. So everybody on the internet has the same rights to use the internet, and we can not let these local governments try to dictate what we can and can't say. So, but I don't know. I've been reading into deep. Justin Sung is a hype man. He's also kind of shady, but not as shady as a lot of other folks that I worried about. Like he's not a Facebook shady. He's not a Google shady. He's just a kid that is a hype man and wants to try to be the best version of what he's. I don't think it hurts. I you know um I like the idea of BitChute. I use BitChute. I have a BitChute account. The Mavis Institute is my BitChute, is where I post a lot of videos up on BitChute so I can have them archived and such. I think BitChute could possibly be a very good live streaming service in the very near future. I'm just not sure how we're going to get everyone to move over there. Like, I am still impressed that Owen moved over to DLive. Like, that still intrigues me. Like, I love the fact that Owen is over here now, Jaronism is over here now, um, Black Pill, Devin Stacks is over here now, Red Ice is over here now, and there's other people that I occasionally follow on the YouTubes that moved over, and I'm I'm excited about that. But if BitChute would start something, I'm not sure how we'd get everybody to also move over there. Like, most folks do not want to have a lot of stuff on their computer or a lot of stuff on their phones. And so, that being said, I also think we need more than just one choice. So I actually have BitChute, and I'm also starting putting all my stuff up on library, just because an LBRY is .tv is that other place. I'm doing that because I don't like the idea of just having my stuff in one spot. As I was telling the Ugly Jew, I don't like having all my eggs. Okay, Titus Frost. Yeah, I will check that out. I've heard about him. I never really followed him, but I will do some checking him out and jump into that and things of that sort. But like I was telling the ugly Jew, um, Aaron, don't keep all your eggs in one basket. And I say that literally, not as a figurative thing. There's been times where I put all my eggs walking out from the house back to the farm, back to my house from the farm, and I've tripped. And I mean, I can be really funny with this too. I tripped and had egg on my face. So as silly as that sounds, because I broke all my eggs, so I was unable to do the eggs that I wanted to do, and it was just a horrible situation because I made a bad decision because of how where I put everything. So, and so I'm just suggesting that to everyone, if you really like everything going on here, you need to find other way. We need to all find other ways to stay communicating, to stay properly communicated and such. Like I have a Discord. I also have Zello, and if none of you have used Zello, it's a walkie-talkie app for your phone. I have pretty much X Doctor Firefly on just about every service that's known to man, just because I think that it's important to make sure that I understand how they work. I mean, I think it's called Social Club. It's like a social networking that I don't even know what it's used for, but I set an account on that just so I'd have an account for that too. So on the 15th, I will definitely be doing a more in-depth show. And then the days following that, I'm going to be doing a lot more in-depth research trying to figure out what they say and how it actually functions to make sure that we know what they're saying is actually the truth. If you guys want to see my pond, there's my little duck pond. It's nice and full right now. The ducks are super happy because it's so full. So I'll be doing a lot of research, and if anybody comes across anything and you want to share it with me or you just have questions, I I'm happy and I actually look forward to having stuff shared with me because I look at things a particular way, but that's because I've been interneting since the 80s, the late 80s, and so I internet a particular way. And then I'll actually be one of my buddies is going to be doing. He's not even on, doesn't really do even a whole lot on D Live, but I'm going to be asking him to help internet with another way so we can look at things through a lot of different angles. And before I run to quick judge, so okay, technically neither. X Doctor Firefly. If you want to know where X Doctor Firefly comes from, the Firefly comes from when I was a kid. My favorite GI Joe was Firefly. So that was, and then I also just loved lightning bugs and things of that sort. So that's actually where the Firefly came from, is from a G.I. Joe that I was one of my favorites as a kid. I liked him because he was kind of a good guy and kind of a bad guy, and he kind of was very wish-washy, and I like that gray hat. I like that gray hat type thing. Um, and so that was actually my hacker name back in the early 90s when we used to do a lot of hacking. And then the doctor came about because there was other people that started using the term Firefly. And so like I said, well, I've been a Firefly long enough that I can have doctor. And then when I wasn't allowed to do hacking or any of that anymore because I got in trouble, um, long story, that's where the X came from. And so it just kind of all stuck after that. And then the X also has that charm of being that I'm a Gen Xer, and Gen Xers just have, for some reason, are obsessed with that letter X. So that's kind of how that all came about. So that is how my username of X Doctor Firefly came from, and I've just always used it. So occasionally you'll hear people around here. I'll go by the nickname the Baron, but that was just a direct insult because when I was 25, I moved here to Southern West Virginia, and I lived in the largest house in the community, and so people called me like a robber baron or a coal baron because they didn't know the whole story of how I was able to get the house and make it all work and such. So, and I just also stuck with having the same name for now. I think I started using X Doctor Firefly, I think in 97. One day I'll have to look at my different accounts that I have and my email accounts, but I think I've been using that since then. Um, That's where it came from. What's funny about the Gen X now is Gen X is like the generation that no one talks about. It's so funny seeing how it's completely left out of everything. Like people rarely talk about Gen X anymore. We were the well-educated slackers. So, and Gen X may never have its own president. That's something that I think is really interesting to think about, is that it may be one of the only generations to never have an elected president because of the absolute silliness that's going on in the world today, which I'm perfectly fine with. Actually, I think the irony of that makes a lot of sense, since most Gen Xers that I know were got to the point where sick and tired of politics most of their life, and just really don't care. Man, it's actually becoming a really nice evening here. So it was it's a good day today. Nice breeze. My cat decided that Fernando's deciding that he wants to talk to all of us and come say hi and say hi to everyone. He wants in because he knows that if I let him in, he'll get fed. So, mm-hmm. So any other quick questions anybody has? We've been talking for a little while, and you're a Zoomer? I have a lot of faith in Zoomers. I think Zoomers are going to have the potential of making the world a lot better. Um, yeah, millennials. It's funny. If you're an early millennial, which as in '83 you absolutely are. Um, so someone that's born on the cusp, a gapper. Someone that's born in the early millennials, and I call them actually Gen Y instead of millennials, because you have more of a Generation X feel to you, but you definitely have some of the outlook that millennials have, which millennials have a really good outlook on life. It's just they also have a really bizarre, because of their education and some other stuff, they really look at things, and I'm stereotyping an entire group of people I know, but they also look at things in ways that I also don't quite understand. But I also have that kind of I have a lot of millennial influence, because a lot of my friends and a lot of the people that I used to know back in the day were more millennials than they were Gen Xers. So I used to hang out with mostly people about 5 to 7 years younger than me most of my life. That's just what I did. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I had a phone call coming in. So one of my favorite. Hold on. Nope, I'm not answering this right now. So one of my favorite things. So one of my absolute favorite things is I can't say I take credit for making this up, but you hear the people say, occasionally I'll get some Zoomers that'll okay boomer me, um, or I'll have some people try to okay boomer me, and so my comeback for when someone okay boomers me is I just like whatever. I'm like whatever Zoomer, and if you remember that where you did the whatever, um, that also shows how old I am. But it's also one of the funnier things that I think's funny, and I also think it's really funny because the okay boomer to me is pretty much the same as the okay boomer is pretty much the same as the okay grandpa type comment that I remember used to saying when I was a kid and such. So we're just recycling phrases around and making them interesting or making them have weird different meanings. So let me address the NPC thing, because I view that there's three types. There's us that are awake, and maybe there's four, because I don't consider awake and awoke awake and woke the same thing. But I'd say there's people that are awake. I would say that there is people that are AFK, and then there is the NPCs. So NPCs, which may not even be people that are like can function and think anymore. So some NPCs are just going to follow the status quo. They're going to be the sheep. They're going to be the folks that have lost all ability to be able to. They're so programmed that game over. Now every once in a while you might get lucky and wake up an NPC, but NPCs are pretty much in my world they're game over. They're um, they're background noise. They're the fun character to interact with because you know what the response is going to be. Then there's the AFKs. And AFKs are people that just aren't really participating. They're not necessarily like, they might be the person that repeats Orange Man bad, but when you ask them, well, why'd you say Orange Man bad? They're just like, oh, did I say that? Oh, I was, whatever. That's just what the crowd of people were saying. Or they're the ones that are going away with the crowd, but can easily be converted, but can easily be swung back in another direction if you just call them out. They're not really participating in life. They're AFKs. They're away from life. And so there's those, and then there's the folks like us that are awake. And I review, so how I view being awake is when you realize what's actually happening in the world, and being woke is when you think you know what's happening in the world. So there's a lot of woke people that buy into a lot of the lies. And woke is just the beginning stages of being awake. And some people never leave woke, and that's why you have a lot of SJWs that have not got past a particular stage. But being awake is where your eyes are open. You're just like, you're dumbfounded sometimes when you're just like, how is that possible? And you're even to the point where you might not even be angry at it anymore. You're just like, that's just a train wreck. And you're just like, how, whatever. So that's how that is that all in my mindset in a crazy little nutshell. So okay, so I should probably head in. My hands are getting cold. I need to do a couple things in the house before I have to come back out here and close up the chickens. Plus, there's probably a bunch of other people that'll be streaming in just a little bit that I want to watch, and then plus I told I need to do just a little bit more research on the 5G so I can have a strong intelligent conversation about the latest stuff. Okay, yeah. Yeah, T-Rex. That is a great, I like that. I like that definition. Yeah, very much. Thank you for that. I have to keep that in mind. So, anyways, guys, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for chit-chatting with me today. Thanks for going with me as I feed the chickens. And whatever language you just wrote in it, I will check that out. It looked Turkish to me, but yes, thank you so much for the ice cream. You are welcome for the advice anytime that you have. Anybody out there that needs advice on any of that kind of stuff, anything on farming or anything on crypto or just on if you're younger and you just want to bounce some ideas off someone that's a little bit older, feel free to ask me. I'll do my best. Other than that, friends, I am heading in, and I will see you guys in another chat room in a faraway land someplace else, or tomorrow when we do this again. Anyways, friends, have yourself a wonderful day. It's the Baron, Justin, Dr. Firefly. Adios.